In this video, I'm going to show you how to make conditional loops in VB.NET. There are two types of conditional loop, precondition or do-while loop, where the condition is at the start, or post-condition loops, which start with do and then a series of commands and loop until a certain condition is met. First, we choose New Project. Then we make sure .NET Framework 4 is selected. For the name of the project, we put do-while loops. Then we create a new folder and name that folder do-while loops. This will actually contain loop until as well. Then we click OK. Then we make the form a bit bigger by dragging the handle in the corner. We go to the toolbox and drag a button onto our form. Change the text to Start and change the name to BTN Start. And we double click on the button to get to the part of the program that's run when the button is pressed, and now we can start entering our code. We start by dimensioning my graphics as me.createGraphics. This creates a graphics area on our form. Our form is the part that's referred to as me. Next we dimension my pen as pen. We're going to make our program draw some randomly coloured curves, and we need to set up some variables to contain the values for the colours for these curves. The variables that we'll use will be called int red, int green and int blue, and we'll dimension these as integers. Next we're going to set up an array called P that's going to contain the values of the coordinates of the points along our curve. The curve will have 3 points on it. Then we dimension int temp as integer. The int temp will be used in our loop. It will control the flow around it. When int temp becomes a certain value, the loop will stop. Now we're going to start writing the actual do while loop. We're going to type do while int temp is different than 6. So when int temp becomes 6, the loop will stop. The part inside the loop is indented. We type int temp equals a random number. We want it to be a random number between 1 and 10. Or between 0 and 10. We're going to output its value to the console. The console is at the bottom of the program in the section that says output. We're going to console.writeLine int temp, which will display the value that's in that variable. So we do also console.writeLine P1. That's the value that's in P1. So P1x is the x coordinate in point 1, and P1y is the y coordinate. We've made a slight mistake there, you can see by the underlined squiggle. So I'm looking to see what that is. I can see I've got one extra bracket. Now we calculate the random colours. So we've got 3 parts, red, green and blue. So int red is a value between 0 to 255. So we make it 255 times RND. And int green, similarly 255 times RND. And int blue the same. So we assign that colour to my pen. The colour from the red, green, blue values, int red, int green and int blue. So it's a new drawing colour from ARGB, where A is alpha, red, green, blue. Alpha is how see-through it is, but we're not assigning the alpha value to the routine. Now we're going to draw the curve. So we do mygraphics.drawCurve with the 3 coordinates. But we want to vary those coordinates slightly by, well, vary them by a lot, by a random amount. So we've got a slight error there on the graphics. You can see by the blue underlined squiggly line. you can get hints as to what the error is. So it said the hint underneath. So we just type my graphics. Okay, that's better. Let's save it and run it. So here we just get the one line, but it's the one line drawn quite a few times. But we want to vary that line by a certain amount. Vary the coordinates of that line. We can have a look at the output down here of the coordinates that we sent to it. So you can see they're the same. So it's gone round the loop quite a few times. Now we're going to vary the points on the curve by random amounts. First we'll change point 1. We're adding R&D times 1000 to its value. Point 1 is the middle point on the curve, as point 0 is the first and point 2 is the second. We're only changing the y coordinate or vertical position of point 1. Previously we had one line drawn a number of times but in a random colour each time. Now we'll see what happens when we run it. Each time we press start, it creates a new series of random lines. It goes around the code until int temp becomes 6. And that happens randomly. So it does a different number each time. So that's the end of our example for do while loops. I hope you've understood how they work now. So now I'm going to show you the next type of loop, which is the do loop until. And then for that we'll make a new button. We'll put the text on that button. We'll call the text circles. And we'll name the button btn circles. Okay, we'll double click on the circles button, make it the same size first, double click on it and start inputting the code. So we'll copy the first bit from the start part, the bit where it dimensions, sets up the graphics area and the variables int red, int green and int blue. We're dimensioning my brush as brush, and this will be the colour that we fill the circles with. I've made a bit of a mistake here. It should be dim, but it's taken it from the auto cues. So dim radius as integer. Oh, as single would do it to make it a bigger precision number. And we'll make it equal to 500. So we'll start the loop now. It's a do loop. So each time it goes through, radius will be changed. So radius plus equals, or minus equals in fact, 500 or 50. So this should be in red equals 255 times R&D. In green equals 255 times R&D as well. So these are for the random fill color of the circles. In blue equals 255 times R&D. My brush will set to the color from the three variables int red, int green and int blue. So it equals a new solid brush because we want a solid fill color. So we'll set the drawing color as we did before from ARGB. And put into the arguments int red, int green and int blue. So now we'll draw the circle. So we'll do fill ellipse and we'll draw it with my brush. We'll draw it at a point 300 along and 200 down with the size radius. And that's the end of the loop. So it's got to loop until something happens. So we're going to loop until the radius gets down to until the radius gets down to 0. Let's save it and see how it runs. Now we'll draw the circles. Okay, so it's drawing a different set of random colours each time, but we can do a bit of tidying up to the program. So let's change it and make it go even lower than 0. Save it and run it and see what happens. We'll run it again. So that's how the do loop until works. Here are some exercises to improve your programming knowledge. Firstly, comment each line of code to say what it does. Secondly, make the curves go all the way across the screen. Thirdly, make the lines as wavy lines, have at least 6 points on them and also go all the way across the screen. Fourthly, ensure the curves don't go off the bottom of your screen. Fifthly, make another button called Circles Extension and make it match the output that's shown on the following screen print. Experiment with the output, see how creative you can be If you haven't subscribed already, please click the link to subscribe, and thank you for watching.